What's up, everyone? This is Steve with the MMA Minute, and welcome to the MMA Minute Show. Today, we are breaking down UFC Vegas 89, headlined by Amanda Ribas and Rose Namajunas. We'll go over my full card picks and predictions. Timestamps are down below, but first, the Jackpot Giveaway. Right now, the jackpot is up to $125. To win, guess how many significant strikes will be landed in the first two rounds of Ribas versus Rose. If you get it exactly right, you win the prize. If nobody gets it right, it'll carry over to next week, and I'll throw more money into the pot. So let me know your guess down below in the comments. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And as always, the Patreon is back up and running. You'll get access to my early bets, picks, predictions, confidence levels, and fight notes, plus two other MMA analysts, the MMA Premium and the UFC Genie. You are getting 3 analysts for the price of 1. Link is down below in the description. And just to recap quickly, last week, UFC Vegas 88, we went 8-4-1 on picks, which ultimately not terrible. It was a crazy night of fights. The dogs were barking. I think I hit 3 dogs. All on the prelims. Did really good on the prelims. I hit GM3 on the main card. I hit Macy on the main card. And then after that, the wheels kind of fell off. So 8-4-1 all together, not all that bad. Picks wise, we did okay. Bets wise, we were kind of all over the place. I'll just talk about some of the bigger topics from UFC Vegas 88. Obviously, we had Isaac Dolgarian taking on C-Rod, where Dolgarian looked like he was completely dominating the first 2 rounds of that fight. So when the wheels completely fell off, when the gas tank ran out, it was a terrible look for Dolgarian. C-Rod was clearly taking over. The way that I saw it, the way that I scored it, I had 28-27 Dolgarian. You had 10-8 round 1 for Dolgarian. You had him winning round 2. 10-9, and then you had C-Rod getting a 10-8 in round 3. So for me, I had it 28-27 Dolgarian. Obviously, we are victims of the moment. We cry robbery right away, but if you go back, if you watch that second round, that is the split round. It's close, man. You had C-Rod, who was up on the strikes, I think by 4 significant strikes, and he definitely landed the bigger blows, but then you had 4 minutes and 20 seconds of control time on the Isaac side, not dealing as much damage. So I think it was a lot closer than we originally thought it was. I have to still go back, watch it a second time. But in the moment, of course, we're crying robbery. When you think about it afterwards, a couple days goes by, it's probably just a close fight. Let's be honest. But I personally had it Dolgarian 28-27. That had all the people on Twitter going nuts. So just let me know what you guys think. How did you score that fight? That was a really fun one. OSP stuns the world, beats Kennedy and Zechiku by split decision. Kennedy was minus 700, and I hate to say it, but I had a couple of parlays in there. Kennedy minus 400, minus 500. He obviously ballooned again to minus 700, like I just mentioned, but he seemed like he was the lock of the card. Turns out Mike Davis was probably the lock of the card in hindsight, especially with Natan Levy with a bad weight cut. But still, Kennedy minus 700. It just seemed like he had everything lined up for him. OSP is 40 years old. He has 1 win in the last 7 years. I thought if he was going to win, if anything, it was going to be an early finish in round 1, but he won by decision. He actually looked pretty good. Kennedy looked terrible, but OSP actually looked pretty decent, especially at age 40, especially because I thought that he had retired, but it is what it is. Stuff like that happens. Obviously, Kennedy is someone that you can't trust, especially at that price tag. So obviously in the future, we are staying far away from Kennedy and Zechiku. Still fading OSP if he decides to fight again, but fading Kennedy at all costs. And then in the main event, I had Tai Tuivasa. Tybura was obviously the smarter pick, but it was Tai Tuivasa. In his potential bounce back fight, we needed to see him get back in the win column. He almost did it. He almost had that early finish. He legitimately cut open Tybura. I thought he was going to go for the kill there and get it done. But as soon as Tybura got it to the ground, does what he does best. Ty had 0 answers off of his back, and he just got dominated and finished. And now we just completely understand that Tai Tuivasa is not top tier. I still don't think Tybura is by any means, but obviously he's better than Tai. Tai had a good run. I think they pushed him too fast, and he got some bad matchups, and now he's been finished in a whole bunch of fights, and he's severely compromised going forward. So you hate to see it. Tai is obviously a massive fan favorite. I'm still a big fan, but you got to just throw him in there with some of these lower levels of competition and get him some wins. Tybura, on the other hand, he's like 36, 37 years old. He's still going to hold that gatekeeper status. So it's a big win for Tybura. It's a bad loss for Tai. And that really summed it up. Vegas 88 was crazy. There was ups and downs. The dogs were barking, like I mentioned. It was highly volatile. And I think that's exactly what we're going to get at UFC Vegas 89. So before we get into picks and predictions, just a quick plug from the sponsors. So we have Odds Jam. If you sign up with promo code MINUTE, you're going to get 35% off plus a free week trial. They have a great positive EV tool that will literally shop you the best line across multiple sports books. Plus, if you're interested in arbitrage betting, they have a great tool for that as well. Not just the UFC, but all your major sports organizations, the NFL, the NBA, NHL, and pretty much all the other sports. So make sure to check it out. All the links are going to be down below in the description. We also have a BetUS 125% deposit bonus. You'll also find that link below. Make sure to check that out. Again, Patreon is live. It is open. 3 MMA analysts for the price of 1. You definitely want to check that out. Premium access to all of our content. And now we can get into it. The main event. This weekend, we have UFC Vegas 89, headlined by Amanda Ribas and Rose Namajunas. This card unfortunately takes us back to the Apex. We have a 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time prelim start and a 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time main card start. For my picks, I will start with the main card first. I'm going to work from bottom to top, and then for the prelims, we're going to do more of a quick picks style. I will share my screen for a quick second here. We'll get the fights pulled up for you. And as I said, we're going to start from the bottom to the top on the main card first. So your first fight here, we have Padilla taking on Pajuelo. Padilla minus 170. He is 6'1". He is 27 years old, has a 76-inch reach. Pajuelo, 5'10", 29 years old, 69.5-inch reach. He is the plus 140 underdog. Pajuelo is a popular underdog this weekend. He's making his UFC debut here, but he showed out on Dana White's Contender Series with a beautiful round 1 knockout over Robbie Ring. He has decent outside movement, strong low kicks, solid defense, and good clean boxing. But the one thing that I don't love is the cardio of this guy. In his fight on the regional scene against Jones Lorca, he had his mouth hanging wide open in round 3, where he was taking big breaths and noticeably slowing down. I like mostly everything about Pajuelo except his cardio. And that's where I think Padilla, that's where I think Padilla can win. Padilla is massive for the division. He has 7 inches in reach here, and he has solid 3-round cardio. His striking is dangerous, and he does great work inside the clinch. I respect Pajuelo. I think he can be a solid prospect, but I don't think this is a great matchup for him. I am leaning towards Padilla here. Give me a round 3 knockout. Next fight on the card, we have Billy Q, my guy, Billy Quarantillo, taking on Youssef Zalal. You have Billy Quarantillo minus 155. He is 5'10", 35 years old, which is a little shocking to be honest. 70-inch reach. You have Zalal, who is plus 130, 5'10", 27 years old, has a 72-inch reach. My guy, Billy Q, is back and taking on a short notice replacement here in Youssef Zalal. Zalal actually started out his UFC career with 3 straight wins, and he was actually looking to be a pretty solid prospect. Then he ran into Ilia Topuria. This is an early Ilia Topuria, who may have been making his UFC debut. I kind of forget how many fights he had, but at that point, it was a very young Topuria, I think, making his UFC debut, and he actually handed Zalal his first UFC loss. Zalal actually outlanded him in that fight, 17-13, but he was taken down 5 times and controlled for 8 minutes. Obviously, in hindsight, that's okay. You can lose to Topuria. No harm done there. He lost his next 2 fights and had a draw with Damon Blackshear before leaving the UFC and getting cut. Since then, he's picked up 3 straight wins on the regional scene, and he finds himself right back into the best MMA promotion in the world. He is low volume. He's a technical striker with solid defense and a solid grappling game. But Billy Q, on the other hand, is a volume and cardio machine that never stops moving forward. He'll drop round 1 just to tire his opponent out and then drown them in the later rounds. He's averaging nearly 8 significant strikes per minute and has a pretty nasty ground game with solid submissions. Zalal can't be counted out here, but Billy Q is an extremely tough guy to fight in general, and especially if you're in on short notice. Personally, I think the volume, the pressure is just going to be too much for Zalal, so I am going with Billy Q to win this fight by decision. Next fight on the card, Payton Talbott taking on Cameron Saaiman. Talbott minus 155. He is 5'10". He is 25 years old. He has a 70.5-inch reach, taking on Saaiman, who is plus 130. He is 5'8", 23 years old, and he has a 67-inch reach. Guys, I'm starting to think that maybe the UFC doesn't like Cameron Saaiman. After getting a tough rising prospect in Christian Rodriguez, who we just saw fight last week and beat Isaac Dulgarian, 28-27 Dulgarian for me, but who's asking? He now gets Payton Talbott, who everybody has pegged as basically the next Sean O'Malley. It's a weird setup for a 23, soon-to-be 24-year-old Saaiman who should be slowly developing, but here we are. Both guys are very talented strikers. Talbott has the size and the reach edge here. Both guys are very durable and show strong 3-round cardio. The biggest difference that I see between the two is probably the offensive wrestling of Saaiman. It's not amazing by any means, but he shows more of a willingness to grapple, whereas Talbott likes to stay on the feet. It's an extremely close fight. It's low confidence either way, but I am going to ride with the hype train in Payton Talbott to edge out a close decision. The over 2.5 rounds is sitting at minus 190. That doesn't seem to be a bad play either. And that way you don't really need to pick a side. You can just trust that this is going to decision and you leave it out of the judges' scorecards, because I do think both guys being young, low mileage for them, very durable. It just seems like we're going to decision. I am going to take Talbot, but that minus 190 doesn't seem like a bad play at all. Next fight here, we have Edmen Shahbazyan taking on AJ Dobson. Shahbazyan minus 195. He is 6'2", 26 years old, 75-inch reach, taking on Dobson, who is plus 155. He is 6'1", 32 years old. He has a 76-inch reach. It's just anytime Edmen Shahbazyan is fighting, you have to hit the pause button. He is also known as the Golden Boy, and for a while there, the nickname actually held up after a close split decision win over Darren Stewart. Shout out the dentist. Edmen rattled off 3 straight wins, all by round 1 finish. And since Edmen had ties with Ronda Rousey, they decided that he was going to be the next guy up. They tried to push him to the top. His next 3 opponents were Derek Brunson. They tried that. It didn't work out. They gave him Jack Hermanson. That still didn't work out, but they still wanted to push him, so they gave him Nasruddin Imavov. He lost all 3 fights. He did bounce back with a win over Dolce Lungi Mbula, and then fell flat against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. He is undoubtedly a talented striker with big power and even has good submissions on the mat, but his cardio has failed him time and time again. And while his ground game is solid, his takedown defense has been exposed by higher level wrestlers. The majority of my entire being tells me to fade Edmen here. My brain, my mind, my heart, my logic, everything points to Dobson, but I'm still going against it all. This is truly do or die for Edmen, and I'm willing to give him just one more shot. If he loses this fight, it's over. You may as well cut him. The hype train will be officially over. I'm going to say that he slows down his approach and he wins a very rare Edmen Shahbazyan decision. And I already hate myself for it, but I have to do it. This is a massive step down for Edmen Shahbazyan. AJ Dobson, decent striker, decent wrestler, not really great anywhere. I think Edmen has to win this fight. Am I crazy? I don't know. Maybe. Let me know. Next fight, Karl Williams taking on not Junior Tafa, but Justin Tafa. You guys have probably heard the story here. Junior Tafa stepped in on short notice after Justin Tafa could not fight, probably a couple months back now. Junior Tafa was supposed to fight Karl Williams, and because he took that fight, he can't fight now. So now the brother, Justin Tafa, is stepping in. Okay? Does that make sense? Great. Karl Williams, minus 185, 6'3", 34 years old, 79-inch reach, taking on Justin Tafa, who is now plus 155. He is 6 foot, 30 years old. He has a 74-inch reach. Stylistically, these two guys could not be further apart. Williams is a grinding wrestler, averaging 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. But what concerns me is last time out against Chase Sherman, he was only 1 of 10 on takedowns. Now, granted, he still won the fight and showed off that his striking is actually better than we thought it was, but that's against Chase Sherman. He's no longer in the UFC, and he never really was UFC level, and he was never really known for his grappling skills. So to go 1 for 10 on takedowns, not a great look. Tafa, on the other hand, he's your old school classic heavyweight with pretty much no grappling on the table, and he is all power. Take out the no contest against Austin Lane, which he did get the revenge fight and won that one by a round 1 finish. He is on a 3-fight win streak, all 3 wins by round 1 knockout. He also shows a 100% takedown defense, but to be fair, he hasn't faced anyone with the wrestling skills of Williams. It hasn't really been all that tested, but it does show 100%. Don't buy into that too much. I am going to put the fade on Williams here, who even if he is securing takedowns, he's not a big finish threat. And if you're giving me Tafa with all 3 rounds to land that one big shot, I will take my shot on Justin Tafa to get the job done. I am taking round 1 knockout. It's a little bit of a sketchy one because Justin Tafa's resume, not all that there. But another thing to throw in is that Karl Williams is also a smaller heavyweight. So if he's not able to get this fight to the ground, he's going to be a big liability because Justin Tafa, all he needs is that one big shot. I'm seeing this as kind of like a Tai Tuivasa revenge fight. Tai couldn't get it done, but Tafa's going to get it done. Round 1 knockout. Next fight, and that actually takes us to our main event. You have Amanda Ribas taking on Rose Namajunas. Ribas is plus 205. She is 5'3". She's 30 years old. She has a 66-inch reach, taking on Thug Rose Namajunas, who is now minus 250, 5'5", 31 years old, has a 65-inch reach. Amanda Ribas is a career strawweight who recently decided to jump to 125. She is 1-2 in this weight class with losses to Caitlin Chookagian and Macy Barber. Her lone win was a dominant decision over Viviane Araujo. At her best, she's capable of landing close to 100 significant strikes in a 3-round fight. She mixes in 2 or 3 takedowns and also has pretty decent control time and submission upside. A couple things to note: she does not do great against lengthy strikers like Chookagian and even Marina Rodriguez, and she struggles when there's big power coming her way. Rose, on the other hand, is also a former flyweight, making the move to 125. She is coming off a close decision loss to Manon Fiorot, where she actually outlanded her on the feet 60-58, and it turned out after the fact that she had a finger injury, so she was able to still outland Fiorot 60-58. And I'd probably say Fiorot is, if not the best striker in the division, at least top 2, maybe top 3. Her volume is not the greatest. Her takedown defense is not the greatest, but she is a world-class level striker. And honestly, she's probably considered one of the greatest women's fighters of all time, having been in there with some absolute legends like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Jessica Andrade, and Zhang Weili, who she actually beat 2 times. On paper, this looks like a close fight, but I believe in Rose to right some wrongs and bounce back in a big way here. 5 rounds. We know she's been there. She's done that. She has fought at a championship level for a very long time. She is a silent killer in there. And Amanda has been knocked down and finished multiple times in the UFC. I'm taking Thug Rose to win this one. And I even think she's going to find the finish in round 4. Give me Rose. Round 4 knockout. That is the main card. We are now moving down to the prelims, where we're going to do more of a quick pick style. First fight here on the prelims, working our way top to bottom now. Kurt Holobaugh taking on Trey Ogden. You have Holobaugh plus 130, 5'11", 37 years old, a 70-inch reach, taking on Trey Ogden, -155, 5'11", 34 years old, 72-inch reach. Kurt Holobaugh was your Ultimate Fighter champion in 2023. After defeating Austin Hubbard at UFC 292, which I was at in Boston, despite being 37 years old, he has still shown he has something left to give. He's landing solid volume, he has decent wrestling, and his offensive submission game is high level, plus his cardio keeps him competitive. And even in his first stint in the UFC, he was going against killers like Raoni Barcelos, Shane Burgos, and Thiago Moises. Trey Ogden is coming into this fight 3 years younger than Holobaugh. He also has a 2-inch reach advantage. Ogden has always been a mid-level fighter who shows strong, defensive, technical striking with solid submission upside. However, he struggles to get fights to the mat with a disgusting 16% takedown accuracy. With that said, Ogden is coming off a career-best performance against a tricky power striker in Nicholas Moda. The fight was ruled a no contest, but we all know that Trey Ogden won that fight. Like most fights on this card, I'm torn, but I do like the aggression of Holobaugh. I like the pace of Holobaugh, and I think the cardio and the volume advantage he should have here is going to pay dividends. I'm going to take a dog shot here. Give me Holobaugh to win by decision. Next fight on the prelims, Ramos taking on Erosa. You have Ramos -160, 5'9", 28 years old, 72-inch reach, taking on Juicy Jabe, who is +135, 6'1", 34 years old, 74.5-inch reach. Ramos has shown us time and time again that he has flashes of brilliance and violence. His striking is dynamic and dangerous, and his grappling can be overwhelming and dominant. But this guy is a classic example of a great hammer and a terrible nail. Meaning if you can put the pressure on him, if you can show him big power on the feet, he can and will crumble. So the biggest difference in this fight against Juicy J is who can overpower the other. Juicy J has been finished in 2 consecutive fights, but we have seen this man go to war, battle adversity, and end up on top. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. If Ramos doesn't get the job done early, Erosa will take over and find a late finish. I'm going to back Juicy J here. Give me a round 2 submission, but better yet, take a look at the under 2.5 rounds. It's only -155. That is suspiciously good, in my opinion. So again, that's a way that you don't have to pick a fighter. Just take the under 2.5, and we should see a finish. Next fight here. Miles Johns taking on Cody Gibson. You have Johns -155. He is 5'7", 29 years old, 66-inch reach, taking on Gibson, who is +130. He's 5'10". He is 36 years old. He has a 71-inch reach. Is Miles Johns the better of the 2 fighters? Yes. Should he be a 2-1 favorite? Maybe even more. Yes. But, and this is a big but, we have to consider 2 things. 1, his last win over Dan Argueta was overturned because he popped positive for a trace of steroids. That's obviously not a good look. And number 2, he's taking this fight on short notice. I hate both of those things, and that to me makes Gibson a very live dog here. The cardio checks out, the volume checks out, the durability checks out. He has never been knocked out, only submitted in his professional career. I think he can give Johns a run for his money. Give me Gibson to win a close decision. Next up, you have Errens taking on Nguyen. Errens +160, 5'11", 29 years old. He has a 73-inch reach, taking on Nguyen, who is -190, 5'11", 30 years old, has a 73-inch reach. There's not much to love about Errens, honestly. So far in the UFC, he is 0-2, going to decision both times, where he has landed 20 significant strikes in his first fight and 30 in his second fight. Anyone who's tried to take him down has had success, as he shows a very low 33% takedown accuracy. On the feet, he's pretty technical and stays somewhat defensively sound, but he is a low-level fighter in general, as far as I'm concerned. He's taken on Stephen Nguyen, who has had 3 fights on Dana White's Contender Series. The first was a round 3 knockout loss to Elon Cruz. The second was a unanimous decision win back in 2021. And the third was a round 2 knockout this past September. In those 3 fights, he has landed 92 significant strikes, 126 significant strikes, and 103 significant strikes. He has good footwork, he has speedy hands, and he has decent power. I seriously don't see how Errens is going to win this fight. I am going to take Stephen Nguyen. It feels somewhat confident in a card that is very unconfident to win by decision. Next fight, Palastri against TBA. I'm pretty confident they're not going to find a replacement there. So the next fight here is Rendon taking on Zalesnikova. I believe her first name is Daria. We're going to call her Daria. Rendon, plus 185, 5'8", 35 years old, 68-inch reach, taking on Daria, who is minus 225. She is 5'9". She is 28 years old, and we do not have a reach listed here. Rendon, as I just mentioned, 35 years old, but she is only 6-0 in her pro career. In her UFC debut, she fraud checked Tamires Vidal by doing what she does best, and that is grinding out close decisions using solid wrestling. She has an annoying but somewhat effective style. And when I say that she usually grinds out close decisions, I truly mean that. She has 0 finishes on her record, even against a low level of competition on the regional scene. And it is clear that she wants to fight on the mat because her striking is low volume and just all around not effective. Daria, on the other hand, is a crafty technical striker with good pop in her hands. She works well from range. She utilizes the jab. She throws a nice overhand right. On the feet, it is Daria all day, but her ground game, is very questionable. A lot of people will point to her loss to Melissa Dixon, where she was taken down, controlled, mounted, and finished in round 1. But I'm willing to give her a pass, at least in this fight. Melissa Dixon is a solid UFC prospect, and Rendon is not. Simple as that. I'm going to back Daria here with low confidence, and I will say the striking is so non-competitive that she does find a late finish. Give me a round 3 knockout. Next fight, we have Severino taking on Lima. Severino, plus 150, 5'7", 20 years old, 69.5-inch reach, taking on Lima, who is minus 180, 5'7", 25 years old, 67.5-inch reach. I promise you, this is a certified banger, and this very well could be fight of the night. Severino is just 20 years old and coming off a very impressive round 2 finish in his Dana White's Contender Series fight. He has 100% finish rate with 4 wins by knockout or TKO and 4 wins by submission. He is a shoot-to-box guy, so you know he is highly volatile, but he is also very dangerous. Lima, on the other hand, is also a young Dana White's Contender Series alum who won by unanimous decision. He has good forward pressure. He has powerful striking. He has strong kicks. The cardio seems to be solid. And above all, he actually shows solid defense, staying out of range nicely. I like both guys. I think their ceilings as prospects are actually quite high. And I'd like to back Severino, but Lima seems like the smarter fighter with better defense. That's going to be the difference for me. Give me Lima by decision in what should be a back and forth war. And that brings us to our last fight here. You have Muhammad Usman taking on Mick Parkin. Usman plus 125, 6'2", 34 years old, 79-inch reach, taking on Parkin minus 150. He is 6'4". He is 28 years old. He has a 79-inch reach. This is a disgusting fight. And honestly, we should be happy it's your prelim opener. Let's just get it out of the way and be done with it. Parkin had some hype on his name, training with Tom Aspinall and being a well-rounded heavyweight. But after 2 fights in the UFC, I don't think anyone is totally sold. He decisioned Jamal Pogues by landing over 90 significant strikes, but then he scraped by Cal Machado, getting outlanded 76-39, but he was able to secure 3 takedowns of his own with 6 minutes of control time. Muhammad Usman, aka the less good Usman brother, has just never done it for me. I usually fade him in every fight. He is a jacked up wrestler with sloppy takedowns, and on the feet, he has decent power, but he's very slow and he's very low volume. Parkin has a slight size and reach edge. I think his volume will be slightly higher, and I think his wrestling will be slightly better. Give me Parkin to win by decision. And that is every single fight on UFC Vegas 89. That's going to be the show, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck with your bets this weekend, and we'll see you next week, which should be a better card. And I think it's UFC Atlantic City. See you guys then.